Hey y'all, what's up? James here. Ready to jump into another daily behind the scenes deep dive, whatever we want to call these things. I forget. I think I had a name for them before. But excited. Look, oh man, my microphone's blocking the helm of domination. Look at that. Frostmourn's right under there. I'm a big Warcraft nerd. If you haven't figured that out yet, I don't know. I don't know how I want to put that mic. It's just gonna have to block it. Okay. Hey y'all. Congrats, we're funded. Well going. By the time I'm recording this, we just broke 200,000. So what I do with these videos every day. First, any kind of announcements like today is going to be congratulations. We're well on our way to making this happen. And it's not just a one off, right? Like times are not easy right now. World economies are hurting. Inflation is high everywhere. So everything across the board is feeling the squeeze. I'm feeling the squeeze. Y'all are feeling the squeeze. And, all we can do is hope that it gets better. But with these videos, what I want to do is I want to go into some of the things that some of the questions that you've had, some of the most brought up items in the comments. And I'm not going to be able to cover everything because I don't want to make a 45-minute long video that you have to watch daily. I want to try to keep this to 15, 20 minutes, but I am long-winded and I tend to ramble, so sorry about that. Also, I need more coffee. I've been up since 3 a.m. getting ready and the nerves and all the stuff, so it's part of it's part of this, and just to mention, it's tough to have hundreds of people yelling at you about what you're doing wrong or what's not what they want. And just know that we can't offer every combination under the sun of what people want. But we do listen. And we're going to get into that a little bit later on. But a couple things I want to tackle right off the bat. So shipping challenges. Shipping's expensive. We've already subsidized the prices that you're seeing there. So what that means is we give. So here's the process, right? Like we give all of our weights and dimensions of all of our products to QML. QML goes out to all of our partners around the world, and we get the shipping quotes back. Hey, it's going to cost this much to ship this pledge. And those numbers are the numbers, right? Like it is what it is. It costs X amount to ship a box that's a certain size that weighs so much. And those quotes come back. And so what we do from there is we take those quotes and we subsidize them because we already know that you're not going to like that cost. And even though this just means we are going to lose money, and I'm saying we as in creators, as publishers, because the Amazons of the world have devalued shipping and made it seem like, oh, shipping should be free. We have to subsidize it somewhat. Now, if you want a super deep dive or a bit more of a deep dive, on the YouTube channel where this is going to be hosted, I did a crowdfunding profit and loss sheet. So if you want to get into the nuts and bolts of why things are the way they are, I go much deeper there. So you can go watch that. And you'll even learn about some of the other aspects of why things are priced the way they are. But like I saw I saw comments as preying on the hype or, highway robbery. Those things just aren't true. They're just not true. That's not what we're doing. Everything costs more. And so we mark it up the amount that we have to mark it up just to have a profit, right? Because if we don't have profits, something goes wrong, we don't have any money to take care of it. And then I think you could probably think of some other campaigns or other publishers creators who have failed in this category. Things went wrong and they couldn't deliver games, or they went dark on you and things like that. So that's why we have to make some profit. We also have to pay ourselves to live somewhat, a baseline. So anyway, shipping is a challenge. Now I know my Canadian friends are really yelling at me, but from the way I understand the way things work to make them customs friendly, the IGD has some minimums, so it doesn't matter that the package is small. There are some minimums that get kicked in. Chatting with some other folks that even live in Canada, they talk about that, shipping's pretty insane up there right now. I was talking to another publisher this morning just to get a sanity check, and they're like, no, yeah, here's quotes for our $22 to ship a couple of replacement cards. So it's rough up into Canada right now, and I wish I'm going to keep looking for solutions. I'm not going to quit. I'm not just going to throw my hands in the air. I'm going to keep asking. I'm going to keep finding and researching if there's other ways to do it. but it also has to be efficient for me to take 1,000 orders and then be able to get them there and then shipped out to you in a reasonable fashion. So anyway, I know the shipping costs are higher than we all would like. I wish free shipping applied to us. I wish Amazon... No, I don't wish Amazon owned me, because that would be bad. But you get what I'm saying. I wish it was just... I could hit the little easy button like some other people can do. But I have to pass through these shipping charges because I can't absorb all of them. It's just, Or I could have made the game $150. It could have been a deluxe $150. The expansion could have been $35. And then I could have been like, free shipping. I think some of you would have preferred that. But I tried to be transparent. Here's what it actually costs. Here's the lowest price I can get you on the game. Here's as much as I can subsidize the shipping. Here's my best. Here's the best, right? And you can't go back and compare things to 2020. The world is very different than 2020. I know that was only, 2.5, 3 years ago, but it's very different, right? I wish my rent was the same as it was in 2020. It ain't. Let's talk, and that kind of couples together with the increased manufacturing costs. I've seen several comments about, well, the game was 80 and now it's 115. Dude, I was super stoked that we got it to 115. I fought. I drove quotes down. I threatened to move our manufacturing to a different company, which would have presented us with a whole nother slew of issues. But it was something I was willing to do because I was trying to get the price as low as possible. Luckily, we're not going to have to do that. We were able to figure some stuff out, and they were able to renegotiate some of their their materials and things like that. And long story short is we got it to 115, and I was proud of that. And to see people like $35, that's such a huge increase. It was 3 years ago, and it should have been $100 then, right? It should have been $95 to $100, even off of the quotes from 2020. We just underpriced it to try to make it seem very cool, not very cool, what's the word I'm looking for? My brain just went dead. I need more caffeine. More exciting, a better price, right? Like I had a boss at Skybound who was like, let's lower the price and we'll make up for that in volume. But that was a stupid move. It should have at least been 90. There's no way it should have been 80, but somewhere between 90 and $100 is what that game should have been, even in 2020. So now you're only talking about a $15, $20 increase. So overall, I think it's a pretty fair price. It's 100% a fair price. Initially, I thought we were going to have to offer it at like 125 or 130. So I thought I was doing good to get it down to 115. I don't know if you noticed, I have a lot of games too. So I appreciate well-priced games as well. It's not, no one's feeding on the hype. So let's talk about no stretch goals. So the majority of the campaign, if you look at all the products, the majority of those items are reprints. Those are items that we're reprinting, that we're giving everybody access to those. So all the stretch goals are already in those items from the first campaign. We do have a few things up our sleeve that, if we hit some certain levels, we'll drop those in and hopefully get to surprise you in a way or two. But they're few and far between, and there's no set stretch goals. There's no daily reveals. This is a pretty straightforward. We put everything out, put our cards on the table, and just showing you everything that you can get. So I don't want there to be any misconception there. Like I said, we do have a surprise or two. And if we work with you guys on some other things, who knows, we may add something that we didn't plan on adding. Notice when we say that's currently not in the plans. Plans can change. But some things are economically not feasible. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. So the first one we should talk about is I've seen the cries of dual layer boards. I've seen it. I've heard your call. So let me explain why dual layer boards, I don't want to say they're impossible, but they're not. It's not as easy as just making a dual layer board, okay? And some of you are already like snarling your nose. So when you look at our player boards, right? Let me make sure I got this thing on the screen. These are double-sided. right? You got 2-player on one side, and you got 3 to 5 on the other. So the problem is, if we take this and we notch out all these spots that you want notched out, when you flip to the other side, they are not aligned. So these would be notched differently. So to do what you guys would like, this would have to be almost a triple layer, but then these would not align, right? On the side that you're seeing where this dip for this cutout is there, on the other side, it's right in between those. So it just wouldn't work. The reason we also made these thin to begin with is because the design, the chips are hanging off of this. So if this was bigger or chunkier, then the chips would be all cattywampus and they'd get knocked around much easier, right? So we made this really stiff, really thick cardstock, but flat on purpose. We did this on purpose because of the design. And we made the design this way because there was still a lot of information that are on these cards that we were trying to get to you, right? To play the game. And to make this card smaller, it made the text too small and it was tough to read. So we went with this design where the chips are like halfway on there because it's saving table space. And as we all already know, Wonderland's War is a bit of a table hog. It's a chunky donkey. So, we did the best we could there. So that's the problem with dual layer, triple layer boards like this would need. Now, could we make them single-sided and you would just need 2 for each character? Sure. Could we look at overlays? Now, that's something that I'm willing to investigate with our manufacturer. I've seen the overlays that some folks have designed on Etsy. I think something like that, because the overlay would just lay on top, right? And then you slot everything into its spot. And then if you need to flip it over for the other player count, the overlay still works there. So I think that's a pretty elegant design if y'all think that's something you'd be interested in. So if I'm saying dual layer boards, not only that, hey, where are you going to put these dual layer boards? The box is already slammed, right? So if you start double or tripling these, first of all, these are just cardstock. So if you get 2 mil cardboard that has to be dual layered, you're talking about 4 mil. And if it ends up needing to be triple layered or whatever, you're looking at 5 mil plus. And then there's 5 of them. So there's nowhere to put them in the box. And some of you are going to be like, I don't care, I'll store them somewhere else. And then others of you like, oh, I would hate that. And see, so no matter what I choose to do, I've got some group of people telling me I'm doing it wrong. And I mean, the overlays, even if we did these acrylic overlays that there wouldn't be anywhere from the box for them. So you're going to have to store them outside the box. So these are all things to consider, right? Like, it's not just a simple choice. I think people come into the comments like, I can't believe you're not doing dual layer boards. That's such a no-brainer. But as you can see, it's really not, right? There's a million things to consider. And even if you do pick something, there's going to be one group that says, that's not the way I would have done it. That's the wrong way. So I'm gonna check on the capabilities of making those overlays. If y'all think that's something you'd be interested in. I don't know what they would cost. I don't know if they're even doable, right? At a mass production scale, but I'll check on it, right? But as you can see, I don't see a solution. And, somebody who makes deluxeified games, I don't ever turn my nose up to a request, especially a request a lot of people have, lightly, right? There's just not a good way to do that. One more thing I'm going to check on too are the rings, the base rings for the minis. The big challenge there is I think they're going to be pricier than you might expect because they're going to have to be molds, so those have a hard cost. I'm going to have them designed, which is a hard cost. And then because there's 2 different base sizes for the minis, that means we're going to have quite a few rings in multiple sizes for each faction. So it's probably going to, I don't know whether there are 5 factions. You're probably going to need at least 3 of each size, probably 4 if you're being safe. So you're talking what? 30 to 40 rings in different colors, which also increases the cost. So, and then again, there's nowhere in the box for these. So these are going to have to be stored outside the box unless you just toss the inserts and bag everything, which I've done that with several of my CMON games, as you can see back over my shoulder. Like that Blood Rage box, it don't have any inserts in it. I took everything out and put it in Ziploc bags, marked the expansion. It's all in one bag. That doesn't bother me. But I'm willing to explore that. I think those two things we can explore. And I think that's two of the big things that y'all are most passionate about. Obviously, there are other things that you're passionate about, but we literally can't do everything. Now, what I will say is if there's some things that we can't cover, that because we know we want to do another a bigger expansion, like probably a boxed, a big, pretty decently sized boxed expansion. And I already hear some people like, well, you're going to do a big box. Maybe, I don't know. That again, that's an engineering problem that we'll have to tackle once we know components of what said expansion would be. But it can be done, right? It can be done. The bigger expansion with new factions and more Wonderlandians and some of the ideas that we have for the ally cards and the forge and the forging tracks. We've got a bunch of really cool stuff concepted. But right now we're only in the concepting phase, and we're not moving out of that anytime soon because I still have other projects that would happen that are in development and things like that before Bloodstone, Tidal Blaze 2, Tidal Blaze 2 expansions, things like that. So, but what I'm getting at is, sure, if there's a continued run, let's say we can't figure out the rings or the boards or whatever, and we figure out something, we have more time to figure that out. Sure, we can revisit those things. We're not saying no to stuff. If anything, I'm listening. It just feels like I have to say no a lot, which then makes me beat down, exhausted, because I feel like I answer the same question all the time. Trying to do a better job of this time of, like, I've got the FAQ updated, things like that. So really just doing my best to keep, and it's just me, right? It's just me. I've got, Tim and Ben and Manny and Matt Paquette. So I've got, but they're not Druid City, right? Like, they're designers and graphic designer and artist, and they're trying to help me as much as they can. But at the end of the day, it's just me. I'm answering all their questions. I'm in the comments. I'm doing the updates. I'm putting all this together, and just one person. It's a lot, and I'm used to having a whole team like when I was at Skybound. So, I get it. You guys are passionate. I'm sad and disappointed that some of y'all are disappointed. I really wish that we could fit everything into everyone's budget. I wish countries didn't have, taxes for me just selling you guys a board game. Like, that would make all of our lives easier. But they do. But they are. And they are there, and there is nothing we can do about it. I wish the euro and hadn't dipped down to the same price as the dollar. I know that's really hurting a lot of you guys overseas. I just don't control any of those things, and I'm just trying to do the best that I can to run a company, make really cool games, because at the end of the day, that's really what I want. That's all I really care about. I say run a company first, but at the end of the day, all I really care about is making cool games. I want to make cool stuff, and it gives me so much energy and excitement and pride to see people taking pictures of playing Wonderland's War and any of my other games, but Wonderland's War, especially right now, like seeing it break into the top 400, seeing how much people are enjoying it, hearing people mention it for their game of the year, things like that. Like, I love it. And that's why I'm doing this. Trust me, I left corporate America. I left the corporate job that I was in for 11 years, had a lot of security, made good money, to come over here, took a pay cut to come make board games. And I wouldn't trade it for anything at all. But it's not easy sometimes. It's not easy anytime, honestly, because if I don't make the right decision and a project doesn't go well, I put my family's, financial future at risk. And so, and that's for any publisher, that's for any creator. So, I get that there are some bad actors out there that have ruined trust, but I just ask you, those bad actors aren't the majority, and don't take that experience and start painting with the brush across everybody, because for the most part, for the majority of creators that use crowdfunding in the board game space, they're really just trying to put their best foot forward, show you the best that they can. Some are better than others at doing that. Some are better than others at running a business. But making board games and running a business are two different things. And unfortunately, you got to be good at both. I've had me personally, had a whole lot of trial by fire. So, my time at Skybound, I really learned a lot, and that really helped. So, I think we're set up for success going forward, and I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to put more Wonderland's War on your table, and more expansions in the future to do more cool things. All that to say, when you go on attack mode and you're coming in hostile in the comments, I don't know, it's frustrating. It's tough. It's hard. It's hard to put a smile on your face and answer hostile comments with, a professional response. Because inside, I just want to be James. And James isn't very customer servicey, forward-facing. Right? If you come hostile, I want to return it back hostile. That's just my nature. Even though I'm trying to be, obviously, when I started to spotlight the Care Bear, kill him with kindness, that sort of thing. And it's just hard, especially the last 2 years. I think the last 2 years has hardened me a lot, and I try to be aware of that. So, all right, I told you I'm going to get on these things. I'm going to rant sometimes. I'm going to ramble. That's the big buckets today. So, again, expect this tomorrow. I'll drop another video. I'll talk about the things in the comments that I'm seeing that I haven't already covered, that I want to be able to answer questions for you, and kind of go through the whys of why you see decisions. I think people sometimes see somebody say, no, we're not doing that, and they just assume the worst reason why they would say no. But like as you saw for the dual layer board, it's not a simple solution. There's not an easy path forward for that, or we would have done it and we would have gave you what you wanted. Someone's like, there was a survey in May asking what we wanted to see in Wonderland's War going forward, and you just ignored all that. That wasn't me. That was Skybound. I wasn't at Skybound in May. They did that. I still paid attention to what you said, but I didn't ask that. Because I knew a lot of those things that you were going to say you wanted, we were going to have a challenge to do. So, all that to say, if you're here and you back something, or if you're thinking about backing something, I appreciate you. I want to give you the most game that I can. I want it to feel like a good value, because that's what feels good, right? It feels good when we open up one of these boxes and we see, the beautifulness that is, say, like our chip set here. Oh, wait, look at that. Got the graph on the top. Got the magnetic seal. That's awesome. And then, just for a little, if you like, what is it, AMSR? These things with their clickety-clackety in the bag, so good. So good. Anybody who plays with the chips are like, must-has. And I think a game like this where you're going to play it a lot and it has that epic game feel, you can... There's certain games I don't upgrade. There's certain games I'll spring for whatever they've got because, like Eclipse is one of those, I want the newest version with all those extra awesome goodies because Eclipse is amazing. That's it. I'm done. I went over my time, but I'll try to do better the next days to keep it at the 15 to 20 minute mark. I just appreciate y'all. Thank you for helping us get funded today. It literally means everything to me that these are successful and that they go as far as they can, because that's literally what my financial future depends on. And, at the end of the day, I want to give you an awesome experience. That's what I want to build. You can ask any of the people that I work with, what do I harp on? What is the player experience like? You want to propose this change to the game? What is that going to do for the player experience? I don't even talk about mechanics as much as I talk about how are we making the players feel. And I feel like that happens through components, and the value of those components as well, which is why I always opt for very deluxeified versions of things going forward. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye. See you in the comments. Bye.